right, welcome to Shop Night Live. 5 years it's been. Can you believe it? 5 years, 230 episodes. And all the thanks really goes to you for being there. We wanted to just celebrate tonight by reminiscing a little bit and maybe hearing some favorite episodes and also some of your questions. I want to just show you a follow-up from last week on the dovetails. So last time we did the bandsaw dovetail. I was making that for this bench. If you come down and look on this corner, you see
awesome. It? Yes.
So I just gotta, it's still a little bit proud. I'm a little out of position here, but I've got this nice low angle block plane set up. I'm going to step in front. And I just want to shave that. That feels almost perfect. There we go. So once I get it flush, the rest would be sanding in the sanding stage. I won't go the wrong way here. So let's see how it looks with a little water on it. Always good to see the contrast. And that's what's nice about having the contrasting end cap. Here's the old one. This is my 30, gosh, I've had this for 32 years, I think. I built this bench. And this one's got the soft maple and again, the cherry end. This one's got some softened edges. So if you want to, by the way, be into this and make this same style bench, customizing it to your own preferences, you can build that go to our website at epicwoodworking.com.
Okay, what is your favorite SNL project? Do you have one?
Project? I'd have to look back through them. I have a lot. But I did a course on designing and building a coffee table. And that was
our series number 2, and actually that was mentioned here as one of the, John mentioned that as his favorite.
That was early on, and that was probably the most kind of stream of thought, like as it gets, as far as being in the creative zone and doing that with you. And I didn't design that for a project. I wasn't teaching it, so I didn't have this added concern or thought going on in my mind, oh, I hope I say this right so people don't do it, have trouble on their own project. I knew no one was building it, so there was kind of a liberty and freedom to just show you, here's the way I'm doing it. I'm not gonna fuss about all the little nuances in the same way as I have to with the courses, which I enjoy doing, but I am in a different mindset when I'm doing the courses than when I'm just working on my own without going on the record, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah. I really enjoyed that. But I've had so much fun on a lot of things. I mean, I remember just designing and making that jewelry box was fun. Gosh, there's so many projects. We've done a lot of finishing videos and whatever, but.
The questions here, did you start before COVID?
2019.
We started in 2019, so.
Yeah.
And a lot of people here came around the COVID experience because we started doing some courses. We did some free courses, project builds.
Yeah, it was March 2019. Actually, do you know when I did the little PBS thing, that was filmed in January through March of 2018. So then we came around from that season. We would have been shooting season 2, but there was some legal issues. The whole thing was tied up. So while it was just hanging in the balance, we said, why don't we do some videos from I just felt like I wanted to, that was the sense, like, let's open the doors. I was actually feeling isolated. I had been building custom furniture for, at that point, almost 30 years. And 10 of that was with having an apprentice in here, 2 different apprentices going up to 10 years. But I hadn't had one for a while, and the work is enjoyable, but it is isolating. It's like you're this independent artist, you know, and So I was kind of feeling lonely and wanting to, I knew people were interested in what I was doing too. And so why not share it? So said, hey, let's just, virtually open the doors to the shop and turn on the camera and see what happens. And the first things we did were courses, I think, before this, right? We filmed some courses, the rocking chair course, before we started Shop Night Live. But in that first course, I think we had less than 10 people, right?
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was like 6 or 7. Yep, actually.
And they all felt bad because they could see there were only 6 or 7 in the course, and they hadn't paid very much. They're like, oh, sorry, like, you really not making it. And, did the whole thing. I'm like, don't worry, we think this is going to grow and go. So
Oh, man, it was crazy.
it's been a nice, steady, slow grow. But thank all of you, too, for those of you who are in the neighborhood now. That means a lot to us. It's helping us to grow and develop even better content. So
Yeah, so
that's
there's a lot of,
major factor.
Tony says, I feel like I've had a 4-year woodworking residency. That's awesome.
Thanks, Tony.
Okay, what do you enjoy making the most, Tom? Vincent wants to know.
I probably like making chairs the most for the challenge, and they're the most free form and most artistry to them. So I am really excited about our upcoming road trip, where I get to talk about the art of chair making for all day sessions to, I don't know how many, 6 or 7 guild groups. So
9 or 10.
yeah, but it's not, I think I only have to do that presentation less times, right?
Yeah.
The chair.
Yeah. Shop stool, that's another great one.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I enjoyed that too.
Let's see. Learned a lot about veneering. This guy built, and Mark says he built 10 Craftsman dining chairs.
Wow.
Courses are invaluable.
Oh, thanks, Mark.
I'm surprised that there are people here that don't know about your mentors, but somebody asking about who were your mentors. Phil is asking.
Who?
Phil?
Phil? Good question, Phil. I've talked a fair amount, so I know you weren't around from the very beginning, but Pug Moore, P.A. Moore, in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. I got a little picture of him here. I worked with him in his shop between the years of 1990 and 1993, and then I was in my own shop in North Carolina up until the end of '97, and then we moved up to New Hampshire, and we've been in this shop for, well, it got built in 2001.
September 10th, we wrote
Yeah, the end of the year there. But here's Pug here. Here's me and Pug. Here he is.
If you're curious, you can read all about Tom's story at our website, epicwoodworking.com/about.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bio there and a lot more there about Mr. Moore.
We hope to have a little installment down memory lane on our road trip, which we're seeing if it's going to come together.
Yeah,
but we'll keep you posted on that.
Richard said he's built a blanket chest, a bow front cabinet. Now he's building the new workbench.
Oh, awesome.
Thank
Wow.
him so much, yeah.
That's ambitious, Richard. This is like, I'm having to like get in shape and stay and even lift a little weights. I guess I am lifting weights working with these things.
Yes, Goose Bay treats us very well.
Yeah.
They were
Did someone
saying
ask?
they hope they roll out the red carpet when you walk by.
They do. They're very good for us, with us. I mean, they donate the wood to a lot of the projects that,
Yep.
so, because it's a mutual benefit,
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, the pump and seal that you got from Quinn. Do you
Oh,
still
yeah.
like it?
Yeah, but it broke. So I haven't broken down and gotten another one. I looked at them. It was actually more, it's not expensive, but it was more than I thought it would be. But yeah, those are cool. I mean, they give a nice little vacuum seal, and you put this mini Band-Aid on the top of the jar. I usually use like mason jars, tighten them, you poke a little hole and you put the Band-Aid on, and it's like a reverse suction, and it seals the lid. It just takes like a vacuum. So it does last longer, but I still, even so, it's always a good idea to try to keep the liquid as high as possible in the container. If it's one of those finishes that will cure with oxidation if too much air is in there. So.
Here's a finishing question. Dwight's asking, when spraying lacquer, do you always assemble the piece prior to spraying, or do you spray individual?
It depends. Who has that?
Dwight.
Dwight, that's a good question. It depends. You know, if it's going to be a hard to reach interior of something, like you wanted to get lacquer on a cabinet, like the inside, I always just put shellac inside there. I'm saying that if you're doing kitchen cabinets, you might spray like conversion varnish lacquer, catalyzed lacquer on the inside. I almost never pre-finish. I know some people love to do that, but I just find that the time it takes to tape off the joints and get it accurately in place, and then the finish, because then when you glue it up, there's always that place where it meets. I just, 90-something% of the time, you want to clamp it up and flush up the joints, do all your detailing to all the transitions, and so there's no sense to me in most cases. I don't have a lot of offsets like where it's easy to just separate out and pre-finish. And it's like, to me, it's almost more stressful that way too, because then you're going to be gluing up a piece that's already finished, and what happens if you ding it or whatever. I'm just in the mindset of finishing after, but there are definitely times where it is an advantage. I just find them very rare with what I'm doing. So,
Alan says, Tom has helped give me confidence and training to exceed what I never had hoped to accomplish in woodworking.
oh, that's nice, Alan. Thank you.
A couple questions about our move to New Hampshire. What was the stimulus for that? So we're both from New England. We both grew up in Massachusetts. And so coming back home was to get our kids back to their families. So
I grew up in hardscrabble, Lowell, Mass. City. And Chris was from the more genteel town of Lexington, Mass, which, if you just look at property values relative in Lowell, Mass. And Lexington, Mass., you'll get a sense of how I really married up.
I wasn't raised in that.
In more ways than one.
I did not. That was not mine.
No, she wasn't. She wasn't.
Let's see, not to knock either town, because we both benefited from both places.
No, I actually felt like I was rich. I still feel rich in many ways. So
we are wealthy in so many ways.
I'm not complaining. You cannot, it's very difficult to shake the city blue collar mindset. I mean, it is very difficult. And so you do have, what's that called? Limited thinking. What's
Scarcity?
That? Scarcity mindset. Yeah, that's something that's very real.
Well, we're growing.
Yeah, I'm just doing this has literally helped me a lot. Like, it's about time, right? That to start thinking more expansively. I've always been optimistic, as you may tell, but just the way this has grown, and if you could see what I'm doing right now, I'm just talking to the camera and the camera lady. I'm envisioning you. I can't see you. And so once this ends, the camera goes off and there's nobody here. So it's very weird. And I've expressed this to a lot of people who've been in the shop. But there is almost like a spiritual joy about it, and multiplicity. I don't know how to explain it. Liz, there is a real connection going on here, and I know there's growth way beyond my visual in this room.
It's the creative connections.
Yeah, so I love,
space,
so
yeah.
I'm growing.
So Tom, Vincent's curious, did you find it challenging to make a living in woodworking?
Yes, we all did.
We all have.
We all have. We all are.
Present tense.
No, we're
Yes.
doing fine. But yeah, it is a challenge. There's a lot of sacrifices because if you do it in a production way, you have a lot of product going out, and you have usually means you're going to have a lot of employees, which means you're not probably going to be doing the woodworking directly anymore. You're going to be more of a manager. Executive function is not my strength, as some may note. So, growing this business has been, a challenge, but just the nature of custom furniture, it's hard to have a lot of people working with you because most of your work, you're like an independent artist. All the pieces are different and new. So it's not a formula for great monetary success. However, as time went on, I was able to charge more and more for the custom pieces because you start to get some name recognition value, style recognition, and trust from people. And I started to have some really good clients. My 3 top were in Brookline, Mass, and Jamestown, Rhode Island, Park Avenue in New York City, and then Houston, downtown Houston. Well, 3 or 4 top clients. And so once you start getting those kind of clients, they're more investing in furniture as an art value. So you're putting more time into it. It was just getting the estimations, which was always a challenge for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Rich is asking, I know you're trained in 18th century furniture. What is your favorite to build these days?
That's a good question. The next one. Isn't that what they asked Tom Brady? Which was your favorite Super Bowl? And he said, the next one.
Oh, good segue. Alan was asking, and John, I think, also, what was your most difficult build? And Alan was suspecting it was the Lombardi Trophy. Is that
Oh, no. No, that's a good guess. That was a micro build of challenge. Probably the most difficult 18th century piece I made the block front John Townsend 4-drawer chest, and that was a pure joy to build. We have plans to go and see that house where he was likely living when he built this chest, and we do want to have that as a course coming up at some point. But that's up there. But the hardest contemporary piece I built was probably the bow front chest on chest that I think you can see in the portfolio. It's in there.
Again, on that about page, there's a link to the portfolio, or it's actually in the description below at the
Yeah,
bottom.
there was hardly a straight line on that piece, and it was bowed, and it was a lot of veneer and laminations and curves, and really involved. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was probably the most expensive piece I made, but still, it was in proportion.
So a lot of favorite projects being mentioned: the bow front table, shop stool, shaker chest of drawers, shaker candle stand. These are all projects that you've been building all these many years. It's awesome. Okay, Russ is curious: are you going to put a finish on the workbench?
Yes, Russ. Sorry, Russ. I am. I'm going to put like a Danish oil or a Waterlocks on one of the benches. I'm going to put this Waterlocks original. I hadn't seen it in this color can, but this is the Waterlocks sealer. I guess they changed the color. It's the original finish. It's a tung oil blend, but primarily tung oil, which is wonderful finish for a bench too. It'll go on just like Danish oil, but we'll give a little more water protection. So the key with a bench, to me, I don't want a built-up surface on there. I don't want it shiny and anything. I want it to still have some grab. I don't want that slippery layer. But I do want the feeling of finish. So a thin coat of Danish oil will make a nice job of it, I think.
So Paul says he feels the same when he turns off the TV or the computer. He feels like he's the only one in the room because he is, which I don't think we've ever thought about. That's really true.
That is true.
So I got kind of two questions here. Peter is asking, do you have any family members that build furniture or do woodworking, and what got you started in the trade? And there's another person asking if I'm ever involved in the woodworking. Nope, I haven't been able to do that yet. Someday I'd like to.
Yeah.
I would.
No one else in my family does this. No one else was crazy enough. And none of the kids really got into it. They are all creative. They're all really dynamic in their worlds. They're following like similar pursuits where it's an artist kind of striking out there and going for it, you know. So they kind of picked that up, but they're not doing the woodworking. So, and that's fine with me.
But you got introduced just maybe?
I got interested in it. It was really almost, you know, I used to mess around in my basement as a kid growing up, and that's the only tool that here, it was that large hand plane that was my grandfather's. I didn't know that till I was older. My mother told me that it was my grandfather's. He had passed away before I was born, so, and she got it. And he was a craftsman, so he was a really fine carpenter, finished carpenter, and then he went into the police force in Lowell to make more money for the kids. And then unfortunately, he died in the line of duty when he was only 53. And so that was sad. And then I enrolled in a trade school when I was a sophomore. I just had a feeling about woodworking. And so I picked going into the carpentry course, and so I got into it there. But I was in that for a couple years, and it was just, I felt like I was spinning my wheels and not learning academically enough. So I transferred and went the college route, got a math degree, and ended up coming full circle back to woodworking, and even had a master's degree of divinity in there, squeezed in there when I was on the track to be a minister for a little while. But now I'm the minister of all things woodworking.
Have you ever built a Bombay chest, Tom?
No, I haven't. I would love to do that. That's probably one of the most challenging pieces, you know, you can build in woodworking. It's such a specialized piece, and you've got to have the material to do it. But
Someday.
I do have a piece of mahogany squirreled away for me over there at Goose Bay that's thick and wide, and it may be enough to make a Townsend chest, like of that quality, to do that, like the block front I made earlier. So
Yeah,
keep
one of
your
the
eyes
goals has
peeled
been
for that.
to develop courses that will bring people along in their skills so that you can move into those more advanced projects and bring people with you there. So after 4 years of doing that, you got some people excited about that level of...
Yeah, that was the idea. So we've got about 25 courses now. A lot of them are foundational and beginner, moving on. And now we're building our bench. And you know, this bench kind of represents, you know, the end of an era and the beginning of a new one. We want to start strong and build a lot of great new pieces coming down the pipe. So lots of plans and excitement, and I would love to do something like that. We have a plan also to visit a museum. I've talked to the curator, and this is another thing coming up in the future. And I said, would it be possible for me to just come in the museum and walk around the collection and just choose anything we like to make a copy of and build, and even build plans and courses? And he said, yes. So I was like, that's pretty awesome. So that'll be fun. We'll walk around a museum, we'll get some video of that, and we'll actually build something that really sparks my interest and hopefully yours as well.
Ken's asking about future projects this year. We have our trip coming up, and then when we come home, you've talked about doing couple things for the rest of the year, right?
Yeah, I want to get to that shaker rocker, and that's going to have. I want to show it as the traditional shaker rocker, and I also want to do a version that is Wharton Escherichified. So it's got a different kind of bone structure, but it'll have a little more contemporary flair, although it'll still be very shaker, because he had some inspiration from the shakers as well. So I'm going to throw in a quick base, table base for the game table, a table base with a drawer. So we'll be working that out. This workbench course, I mean, we're going on the 15th episode. This has turned into like a double course. So it'd be like, a 2 for 1 in this one because it's so
And you're making 3.
involved.
Michael asked why you made 3.
Oh, I made one for a special friend, one for me, and another one that is going to be available. I'm probably going to make it available for sale, but I haven't figured out yet what it's worth. Probably around, the bench crafted benches. But I also have to make several anytime we build something, I need several going because just like last night's course, we glued on the end caps and then we had to move. We weren't ready to do the same thing, so we moved to the next one that's further down the road. It's like you're pulling one out of the oven at the end, that kind of thing. You got to have
Steps.
them in sequence.
So people
So
aren't waiting, yeah.
they're big like that, but it's been good. So
How do you estimate the hours a project will take? That's a funny question. Chuck's curious.
oh my gosh. I heard the term recently, time blindness, and some people experience this where they struggle with time estimations. And I swear to you, this has been you would think you'd master this after having to estimate so many things, but there's something in my brain that just is always like super optimistic, and maybe you're like this and you just think, I ain't gonna knock that out. I'm gonna be done. That's like just a weekend project. And it just is way more than you think. So, I did that on this bench. I estimated this bench was gonna be 9 sessions? Usually I don't miss that far, but it's just the size of it and the different elements, and there was a lot of things that needed to be longer sessions in order to show thoroughly what you're faced with, and there were big glue ups, just a lot with this, and that's okay. So, but as far as estimation, I'm not the guy I would not be a good estimator nor executive, but just put me, if I have to plan how to build something and tell you how to do it, somehow I get a lot of structure in my brain. I have no need for notes. I just go.
How do you feel about being down the road from the Shakers? It's the Shaker Village, where there's such iconic history and furniture there. Yeah, we do definitely feel that vibe in this town. And if you've not been to this part of the country and you want a place, you definitely want to check out.
Yeah, I love it. In fact, that Shaker Rocker, if you had come to one of the Epic Weekends, we actually made our field trip there a couple times ago. And we got to tour the Shaker Village, but there's a rocking chair that I actually borrowed from there that is the quintessential Canterbury Shaker Village rocker. And that's the one we'll be copying and making for the Shaker rocking chair. I'll be enlarging it slightly because it was made for rather petite women, and I need it big enough for anyone, to sit in there and not have it collapse.
Yeah, we like to show every step to the classes so that you are completely empowered to build the piece. That's and the beauty of doing it live. I just should mention, being the person who gets to watch this thing first, within feet of what he does live, it blows my mind. I'm not a woodworker, but it still is very, very interesting to watch what he'll attempt the first time sometimes with a camera on. It's crazy.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
I've been doing it a long time, but it's nice to be good at something.
Rand says, do you dream about your projects like me?
A lot of times I go to bed, Rand, and I'm thinking of a problem. Like, actually, it happened just last night. I was thinking about something that I needed to resolve. And then I woke up in the morning and, yeah, it's that on the walk or in the shower, you're like, oh, that's it. Like you processed it through the night. I'm not aware of dreaming of them. I think I have enough of it during the day, I think.
John would like to see you do some barrel furniture.
Oh, actually, John, I've thought about that because my neighbor Ed is more rustic than me, and he loves that kind of thing. And they actually started selling whiskey barrels at Goose Bay. They have, used ones, and you can get those a lot of places. But there are some really crazy, creative ways of reforming those, and I'm trying to remember what they were. I know the obvious is a coffee table or something like that, but there have been others that I've seen that very cool. Some of them just strip them down, take them apart, and use the little curved staves for planters or candle stands in the middle of a table. There's a lot of creative things you can do with those things.
David says he saw a Strat template near the mortiser the other night. Are you building an electric guitar?
Yes, David, that's exactly. I'm on the body. I'm just about, the neck is the most complicated thing, and I'm just about done that. And now I'm transitioning to the body. So that shouldn't be that bad, but I am veneering it with Cuban mahogany and putting an ebony line around the edge. So that's going to make it a little more time consuming, but I will share that with you, of course, when I get there, when I'm back into it. But it's definitely a this year project.
I'm looking
because
back
we don't have the courses this summer. It's going to free us up a little bit, but the big project is actually organizing around this place, which is my other weakness. I'm very good at bringing things in, but
Yeah, so we might take you on a journey of that. Anyway, somebody had asked how we think our video podcast stands up to others in the woodworking world, and I don't know. I would answer that by saying we don't really think about that. Do you?
no.
Not even.
I mean, I watch other videos. They're edited. I don't know many other people who are doing live videos. When I've seen live, it's been more like this. It's just been Q&A. This is very unusual for me to just stand here and talk. It's usually like I'm demonstrating something live that is real, and it could go wrong. And I've just worked something out, or I'm sharing something with you from the past, or some new thing. So I'm trying to make it as authentically like you're here. And from early on, I said I wanted to share my experience with Pug Moore, my apprentice experience, and let you just join in that with me and make it as much like you were in the shop next to me on the bench as possible. And so that's what it's all about. And I feel like I'm way better in the live format. I like knowing people are right there listening. It energizes me. When it's for tape, you always have this, you're more in your own head because you're thinking about, oh, did I say that right? Oh, we can always do it again. There's a different mindset when you know you can do it again, and you're more rigid, I think. But when you're live, I know you're there. So I feel like I'm having a conversation. I feel very relaxed, but I know someone's really listening. So
Yeah.
it changes, and and there's a time you got to start, and you're going to finish. So.
Michael is asking, what would your recommendation be for absolute must-have tools to get started? And I'll throw this in, Michael. If you're not on our mailing list, go over to epicwoodworking.com and sign up, and you will get Tom's top 10 hand tools recommendations.
Yeah, I would definitely. Those are
away.
big. And then I
yeah,
think I
there's
did
more
a
though, right?
Shop Night Live recently where I said 5 tools I wish I got sooner.
Oh, yeah.
But some of those I think were in the top 10 tools. But the top 10 tools, they're mainly hand tools.
You're right, yeah. There's more.
So I would go there and check that article out. That's pretty good. And but we have these conversations too in the Neighborhood Forum. So if you're in the neighborhood, it's an awesome place to not just talk to me, but there's a community. So the other great thing about doing this is not that I just stop feeling alone, but anyone in the neighborhood, you realize you're not alone either. You're pursuing this craft, and it's more than just these tutorials and how-tos and courses and stuff, but you get a genuine sense from the forum and these chats and all that, that we're a community. We're not alone. We're sharing this creative journey together and taking a risk, design-wise. We're stepping out and always making new things together. So
yeah, the Neighborhood, if you don't know, I think most people do, is just a membership community where all of the courses are, you have access to all the courses and to other features, including this private forum where you can ask questions, and Tom's on there.
yeah,
That's
and
great.
you get a huge discount on the plans and that
Yeah,
question
that too.
would be batted around a lot. You'd get a lot of feedback from guys building their shops right now, and there's a number of guys who've been posting photos of their shops they're building right now.
And the
Sometimes a
workbench.
tool, yeah, and we'll all share our workbench photos. It's a really fun place to connect.
So Michael says, does a build ever deviate from the plans as you draw them up first, then build? I did just order the workbench plans, so.
Oh yeah, but when I was building custom furniture, that would happen a lot. You make your conceptual sketch, scale drawing, full-size drawing, but then it's sort of like you couldn't see something until it was actually in 3 dimensions to make a decision. It was too far down the road. You need to wait. It's like if you were, trying to write a song or something, or a book. You have your first draft, and then you have your second edit, and then maybe a new direction comes in there, or a character comes in, and that you just couldn't develop until you had gone down the road a ways, and that happens a lot. Those are fun discoveries, fun little accents you might add to a piece. So yeah, I love doing that.
We don't have a shop dog, Phil's asking. No, we got a golden years ago. We named her Dusty with hopes that she would be a shop dog, and she never liked it in here.
Yeah,
Much to my chagrin, she was around us and the kids all the time now.
yeah. And then we had a little dog, a little tiny sweet, best dog we all had, but a small dog, and she didn't like being out here either. So I don't know. Maybe it's the hard floors, or they were too conditioned to being in the warm house, and they felt that was their little
loud
nest.
when the
And this is
saw's
like
going.
150 feet out from behind the house, and it's wood and sawdust. And
Yeah.
I mean, if we started and I just kept them out here, it would have worked. But I didn't. So
How about a boat, Tom? Have you ever made a boat?
we have no dogs at present. No, but I would love to make a boat. I have shared this. There's actually a guy, a new neighbor in the neighborhood, that shared his plans for, he made a little model, half model of a boat that he's going to be building. He's not fooling around though. It's 34-footer. I'm like, 34-footer. I just want to make, I've gotten books on boating, like the small motor. I have sailed in my earlier days as a teenager. I actually learned to sail on the Charles River, like between the Longfellow Bridge and what's the one, the Mass Ave Bridge, I think, up at the other end. And that was a dream, to sail on boats like that. But I really want something with a motor, probably something around 20 feet-ish, and maybe a center console with a place you can have a little tent sort of in the front, so you can, I forget what they call it, but you can actually go camping in your boat. We have an incredible coast up here that I haven't explored, like off the coast of Maine. There's so many islands and inlets, and you can just go for days and do like boating, camping, where and exploring and fishing. I just love the ocean, and I just need to get out there. I haven't been for years, really. So it's kind of in my blood to do it. I did it a lot as a kid, but maybe it's going to end up being just a dream. I hope not.
How do you decide what projects to introduce to Epic? Is it based on increasing your subscriber skill level through each new project, or how?
Yeah, well, I've taught a lot of classes in here, a lot of in-person classes before I ever did my first online class. So I had a pretty good sense of what the common struggles are to start with, and the progression that is good. So we start ours, we have a number of shaker, simpler, like tapered leg pieces. So you're learning a lot about just fundamental proportions, joinery, designs, process, and so it's been like that, like just getting your legs under you sort of to feel some competency. And then later on, we added some laminate bending, more curves start coming into play, then veneering. And then you can start to have more and more tools in your box there that you can apply to different projects and dream and envision. But I just see ideas and realize, hey, that would be a good thing to make. Some of them came out of episodes from that TV show that had 13 episodes, and we've done a number of those pieces as projects because people were interested in them, and they lent themselves to go deeper and be like the Craftsman dining chair. That was a chair that I actually simplified a more complex kind of 18th century Craftsman style chair that I had made, so that we could do that faster. But it ended up being a very popular design. It was almost good that I tried to simplify the recipe, but it's a great fundamental chair. And so that's how we're going to be going into more and more complex.
More complex, yeah. So let's close on this question. What has been the most funny or memorable blooper that you can think of?
Oh man, there was one thing what was that one where I couldn't stop laughing? Oh.
We were talking about wanting to make sure that the bottom rails were high enough so you could vacuum
that's right.
under the table.
Yeah, they were
Not really a blooper, but it was definitely a marital moment.
No, I said I like, you have to have that shelf up high enough under the coffee table so you can vacuum under there great. And I almost never touched the vacuum, so that was kind of a humorous moment. It was inside baseball, yeah.
So funny.
But I lost it for some reason. I was in one of those moods, and it was the only time I ever couldn't speak for a little bit.
Well, the blooper I was thinking of is when and I just edited something about on that video the other day, that you were bleeding, and it was one of the only times I think you'd had a cut, and it was bleeding all over everything.
Oh, I've had a bunch of cuts. Look, I just put another spot of blood on this one. That's dried blood. I got to get it out of there somehow.
But thankfully, we've not had any injuries. That's amazing.
No, that's true. I shouldn't have said that. I'm going to jinx it.
Oh, this is sweet. Frank's saying, how does Tom see himself carrying on the legacy of what Norm did with the New Yankee Workshop? He thinks SNL is the perfect next step.
That's nice.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Yeah, I don't think of it that way as much. I thought of it more when I was on the PBS show, but I was thinking of that as it was similar to Norm stuff, but it was more traditional, like fine furniture. Norm came at furniture from a Finnish carpenter perspective. So he was right up from the get-go. He was like biscuiting and finish nailing things together, which is fine. But I came at it from an 18th century furniture perspective, which was more handwork, fine joinery, and design and all that. And so that's what I love. I love that higher style. So
it's in the line.
But I definitely thought about that a lot because the actual production company, it was WGBH in Boston, same company that shot Norm's show early on.
And then Tommy McDonald's.
Yeah. For that 7 seasons. And so anyway, that is what it is. I just love this format so much more because with the TV show, it had its ego aspect of it and was fun, and but you didn't get to talk to people. There was kind of like this wall between you because it was all recorded and you never got to see and engage with people directly. And so YouTube is by far, I knew if we could just hang in there and get over this hump, like to make it viable as a
Consistent,
job,
yeah.
that it would start to really flourish because, just to have the neighborhood allows me to frees me up to make better and better content. So I mean that if you like this content, and this is not the usual content, but please consider subscribing and joining the neighborhood, because I promise you we're gonna make better and better projects and have more adventures together. So, and you couldn't do that on TV. This is way better than TV. So,
And we'll be bringing you along on our upcoming epic adventure. We leave in a couple weeks, and we hope to have some Shop Night Lives on the road. So
yeah, that's going to be a blast.
stay with us.
All right, everyone. Well, cheers.
I'll be sure Tom sees all of these sweet comments and affirmations. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thanks again for being with us for these 5 years. Here we are off on a new 5 with our new workbench. So on behalf of the cameraman and myself, we look forward to seeing you next time, right back here on Shop Night Live. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.